Hello, namaste. This is Tim Haller and I'm an astrologer here in Savannah, Georgia. This is a weekly astrological forecast. I put these videos up weekly. You can help support future videos by purchasing a reading from me at the link below. Today's Tuesday, the 27th of March, the third week of March, a very highly anticipated week for so many years by so many astrologers. Congratulations, we have made it through, officially, the 7th Uranus squares to Pluto that have been taking place since summer of 2012. 3 years of this scrunching, revolutionary transformation. This week we also have, coincidentally, and we're going to say that there is no such thing as coincidences in astrology. Astrology is the master art form of eliminating the notion of coincidences. This is Rasa Leela healing. The life is Rasa Leela. Everything is divine play, is perfect beauty. There's no coincidences. When we listen to an orchestra and the brass and strings come in together in perfect harmony, we don't say, what an interesting coincidence. We say, that sounds beautiful, that sounds perfect. So similarly this week, we have the final Uranus square to Pluto that was exact yesterday to the minute, and it's going to be exact for months to come, and going to be carrying us into the next 34 years until they meet again in opposition in 2046. Okay, so this is a critical part of a cycle that we're going to be discussing. But this is happening simultaneously with a total solar eclipse this Friday that just happens to be the day of the spring equinox. Another funny coincidence that happens, the solar eclipse lands on the final degree of the zodiac. 29 degrees, 30 minutes, Pisces. All right, so on Friday, 5:36 a.m., we have our total solar eclipse, Eastern time. An hour later, the moon moves into Aries. And then that evening, the sun follows into Aries, which is the official start of spring. And man, are we springing forward this year. This is a profound birthing. And what are we birthing? You know, we've been talking about this Uranus square to Pluto. So many astrologers for years have been talking about this. We know that this is revolutionary transformation energy. We know that it's changing the old paradigm. We know that we're bringing in a new paradigm. What is it we are birthing? What is the new that we are bringing in? Well, Uranus is in Aries. The revolution is taking place in the individual. This solar eclipse is happening basically exactly on the Pisces-Aries cusp. That is the point of death and rebirth in the zodiac. This is a time of dying old identities and birthing new identities that is focused upon the power of the individual. Now, Pluto is the transformation aspect of this. Yes, Uranus is this powerful, electrical, revolutionary energy. Pluto is the most powerful planet. It was discovered at the time of the atomic bomb. It is atomic, transformational energy. Pluto is in the sign of Capricorn. How are we bringing about the birth of the re-empowerment of the individual? Through the transformation and the taking down and the changing of the old structure, of the old system, of the old culture, of tradition. Yeah? Interesting tradition going on here, random aside, in Savannah. It's St. Patrick's Day, and Savannah holds one of the country's greatest St. Patrick's Day parties. And everybody from around the world comes here and gets drunk to celebrate a holiday that is founded upon St. Patrick driving the pagans out of Ireland, which is essentially to say, driving the natal home religion out of their home. And now we celebrate this holiday by doing lots of drinking, and the Irish celebrate the day that their ancient tradition got rewritten. All right. The establishment, the cultural traditions, the government, schools, the established cultural way of interacting has been oppressing us, has been oppressing the individual, has been oppressing our own power. So what is being born now is a reflection of what was being born in 1965. All right, because we're dealing with a long-term Uranus-Pluto cycle that's not going to come full circle until 2104. So 1965 was the conjunction. 2012 is where we are now. 2012 to 2015, 7 squares. All right, 34 years, we have an opposition in 2046. Final square, 2073, where Pluto is going to be in Aries, Uranus will be in Capricorn, and then we complete this cycle. All right, so we can look to 1965, that was the conjunction, that was the new phase. And what happens is the new phase is an awful lot like a new moon, where we see the goals, the dreams, what we want, and simultaneously we see, almost kind of hidden, but it's there, the challenges, the stuff that we must work through essentially this 150-year cycle. And now we're coming to this first challenge. This is a cardinal critical point. When you're going around the circle, you can only move in a direction so much before you have to change directions. This is a point of changing direction. This is birthing a new direction. And this direction is reminding us of the direction that was born in the 1960s. What happened in the 1960s? It's a period that is very cherished by many spiritual, astrological, New Age people, of course, because it was really the birth of this movement. We had holistic medicine, alternative healing, all of these teachers and gurus from India and around the world. The reintroduction of earth-based religion and these things all came about in the 60s. What was the goal? What did we want during that time? Peace and love, right? And we all like to kind of like poke fun at the stereotypical hippie, like, yeah, peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. That's a big deal. We want peace and love. That's like our natural, God-given human rights. This is about human rights, isn't it? And the establishment, the cultural tradition, schooling, government, systems have been oppressing our natural human rights. And now is a time period where we are feeling this excitement, this urge to be born into our own individual nature, which means the raw humanitarian expression of who we are takes priority. And we see this friction between where we want to go, a world that can exist as a family, and where we are still stuck in ways that keep peace and love and intimacy and family life oppressed. And so it's interesting because I think we can study the 60s and see all this happening. Like the goals, the challenges are all there, and now we're kind of doing a reflection on this. The goals and the challenges are all there being presented to us. And you know, this is evolutionary astrology. This is not the understanding that the planets are gods that control us and everything is determined. We have free will. We can either align with the flow of the changes that we want, or we can fight against the grain and fight against the changes and the transformation that's going on. And that's going to determine, you know, how easy or difficult things are for us during this time. And it's not necessarily a pleasant time, as much as people may be celebrating the fact that this energy is profoundly exciting. Yeah, a solar eclipse on the Pisces Aries cusp, that is like totally new birthing energy. This energy feels innocent, it feels free, it feels freshly liberated. I mean, it does feel fresh. We can feel this energy these days. It's like we can look at the world with like a new set of eyes, and everything is exciting and adventuresome and everything. Simultaneously, old things are falling apart. And it's not people's fault that that is painful. It's not people's fault that we have establishments that are crumbling, and that's going to be very painful for a lot of people. People have belief systems that were constructed that were not in the best possible place. And as those belief systems are crumbling, people are getting hurt. So as much as we can be excited about this time, we also need to be perfectly empathetic that this can be a difficult transition for many people. And our jobs, being really assistants of this movement that's coming in, is to make it as gentle as a delivery as possible. We are midwives of this New Age movement, all right? But anyways, going back to the 60s, you know, I find it another interesting coincidence, but not. It's not a coincidence. And actually, the way I do these videos is not only do I study the transits, I study what so-called coincidences are going on in my life that reflect the transits, and I think that is a way to get deeper messages from the universe. So coincidentally, I watched this documentary. It's a very interesting documentary. It's called The Source Family. You can find it on Netflix. It's about this really hippie, communal type of family that took birth, you know, at the end of the 60s. And there was this guy who was named Father Yod, and he basically established his own religion. He was pretty far out. He was a cult leader. He thought he was God, you know, and all this stuff. But it's very fascinating because it's coming about during the time of the 60s. So there was, you know, a rebirth of music. He had all this, you know, really intelligent understanding of astrology, of how to live healthily, of yoga, of how to live like a rich diet, and all of these things that are being reborn now. You know, we have this, you know, diet and health and yoga, and all these things are coming back now. Simultaneously, there is something very, very wrong that happens within the Source family. And it's interesting. For those of you that are into like Greek myth or astrology, check out this movie. Because this guy, Father Yod, and his wife, who happen to be like a quarter his age, third his age or something, they totally reflect the Zeus-Hera, Zeus-Juno story of ancient Greece, where this guy, essentially, he like has good intentions at first. He wants love, he wants peace. That's what this is all about. We want love, we want peace, we want intimacy, but it gets misled at some point. And I think this is the key. How does it get misled? How can you have such great diet, such great understanding of the universe, of all of these different religions, of the cycles, and all of these things don't really matter yet, don't take you to love and peace and intimacy? It has to do with this severe disbalance of the masculine and the feminine that was still very evident in the 60s. Yeah, during the 60s there was this feminist movement, racial movement, and all this, and this is still pushing. It hasn't completed yet because the masculine energy is still dominant. We're not talking about gender or sexual energy. We're talking about energetic, fundamental, masculine and feminine energy. And the understanding is, in order to create something, you need to have a balance of masculine and feminine energy. You have to have both in balance to create and not have it die off or, you know, get thrown off. And that's exactly what happened in the Source family, because this guy decided he was God. He started to write the 10 Commandments. He divorced his wife, or he didn't divorce his wife. He just decided he was going to have 18 wives instead of one. And patriarchal society came back in the midst of the New Age movement being born. And I think so much of these really great, ahead of its time stuff that is coming about now, that came about in the 60s. I mean, we've got technology, we've got spirituality going for us. None of this stuff means shit if we can't balance the masculine and the feminine and understand that the purpose of all of this change and transformation is in service to love. We're talking about Pluto and Uranus, the most powerful, intense gods in existence. Yeah, and we're not saying that these gods control us. We say that they're influential. They influence the changes on Earth, which is actually just synchronicity. It's actually just divine play. The gods are doing their divine play, which perfectly reflects in perfect synchronicity with the play that's going on here in Earth. But anyways, these super powerful masculine gods are doing their powerful transforming, destroying, and rebirthing in service to love. All of the gods are in service to love. Even God himself, herself is in service to love. Because the real esoteric understanding is that even God is controlled by love. There is actually a divine love shared between the mother and the father, and it is that inconceivable love shared between them that controls them both and therefore controls everything. And that means if you decide you're going to be a controlling force in the universe and you're going to suppress love, you're going to be overthrown. Your efforts will be thwarted and you will be shoved away because you cannot oppress love. So Uranus and Pluto are saying, hey, guess what? Establishment. Hey, guess what? Cultural tradition. You know, the structure of society. You are oppressing love. You are oppressing the earth. The structure that humans have formed on the earth in contemporary society is destructive. It is destroying the earth. It is not living in alignment with love. If we were living as loving beings, we wouldn't be killing our mother. So we need to put an end to this killing our mother. We need to lift up the long forgotten and suppressed feminine and bring it into alignment with the masculine. And this has to happen on the individual level now. We can't wait for the New Age movement to happen to us. We can't wait for some organization to figure things out and then we'll join the organization afterwards. It has to happen on the individual level, which means we need to start living the lives of the future and do not wait. You don't even need to focus on the old crumbling paradigm and how much it sucks and how prison-like and how oppressive it is. We don't even need to worry about that anymore, because we are bringing in the new through our individual being and living exemplary lives. That is how we go with the flow these days. That is how we don't fight against the grain. All right, so cultural tradition. I see this as being an oppressor of love. And this plays out in so many different ways. Why? Because cultural tradition has been patriarchal. It's been male dominant. And it's not just male gender, male sex we're talking about, it's male energy. What is masculine energy? Masculine energy is more outward. It's more what you can do to prove to yourself and to others who you are. Yeah, it's very tangible. It's about showing, it's about doing. Not about reflecting, not about feeling, not about connection with other people. And it's also intelligent. Masculine, it's about processing, it's about reading, it's about communication, it's the left brain. It's what you can dissect and logically comprehend. The feminine is just the opposite of that. The feminine energy is illogical, it's all over the place, it doesn't make sense, it is processed through feelings, and the feelings don't have to be logical, they don't have to be comprehensible, and it has to do more with inner reflection and deep sentimental connection. Now, isn't it interesting that today is St. Patrick's Day? The celebration of the day St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. Who were the snakes but the pagans? Why is the snake represent the pagan? Speaking of the oppression of the feminine, the snake is that slithery, illogical, the snake is like a sine wave. It's a very ancient spiritual symbol of the feminine, which is why snakes are now seen as the devil or bad or blah, blah, blah. And who picked the apple? It was Eve. It's all blamed on the feminine. So the pagans, who were the earth-centric spiritual force in Ireland, got drove out by St. Patrick, and now we celebrate it to this day by drinking. We need to put an end to these totally stupid practices. Yeah, I'm Irish. I'm allowed to say this, by the way. I'm a Halloran. Yeah, and I don't drink, and I don't even eat corned beef anymore. St. Patrick's Day is just not fun anymore. Yeah? Especially if you say, like, okay, I'm Irish, therefore I have Celtic roots, so St. Patrick's Day is the celebration of my ancient heritage being rewritten. Why are we still celebrating these things? You don't have to. You don't have to. Guess what's happening right now with the birth, with the total solar eclipse, dying and rebirthing, the individual understanding, and guess what? We are creating future cultural traditions, which means you don't have to follow old, crumbling traditions that don't make sense and are not situated in love. Guess what, St. Patrick? Berating the shit out of religions that don't believe in what you believe in because you own the truth is not loving. Love is the truth. Not the book, not the authority, not the organization. It's all about authority. Yeah, that's what Pluto and Capricorn is changing. The need for authority is a patriarchal establishment. Yeah, the patriarchy wants you to believe that you need authority in your life because it keeps the authority figure, which is the male, by the way. Man is the authority figure, in power. You don't need authority to know what love is. You don't have to read the perfect book to know what love is. Oh, I am qualified because I read this authorized book from this authorized organization that comes from this authentic lineage of people, therefore it is spiritual. No, that's not what makes something spiritual, is if it is authorized. Authority needs to go because authority has been thinking it's been super loving and has not been. Yeah, the Crusades were not loving. They thought it was loving. They thought that they were saving everybody's lives by converting them to the only religion that would save their souls. Not loving, not understanding, not truth, not wisdom. Now is the time for us as individuals to embody real love, real truth, real understanding, real wisdom. And who's going to do it besides you and me? It's going to happen because of us. It is us changing the way that we live. So we need and rely on less external authority. Less external authority for your spiritual connection, your own happiness, your own paycheck. This is a time to be revolutionizing the individual and birthing a new direction in service to love and peace. That's what it's all about. And yeah, it's a challenging time. We're seeing all of the opposition that we're stacked up against. Oh, thousands of years of tradition, and all of the people that are still going to cling on to authority and tradition out of fear because they're not individualized. Who are the people that are following and always, heeding authority are the people who have not actualized their own individual nature. They don't know any better. That's why they have to listen to somebody standing above them, telling them how everything is. Your understanding of spirituality and love comes from your heart alone. And if the guru, the book, the organization agrees with your heart, wonderful. I'm not saying the guru, the group, the savior, the organization has to be bad, but if it's not in agreement with your heart, throw it out. You don't need some book, some guru, some savior, some authority figure to tell you how it is, because that's not the truth. It's not coming from unconditional love. It's not coming from the savior that you think it's coming from. It's coming from authority figures that are simultaneously stripping you of your own power and oppressing the entire collective by oppressing femininity, oppressing soft, snake-like, changing around, intimate type of understanding and wisdom. You want to know what feminine wisdom says? Feminine wisdom says, do it if it feels right to you. Not because some logical left-brain person said that it makes sense, because it feels right to you. There is this thing called intuition, gut feelings, instinct. That is feminine wisdom. And we have oppressed feminine wisdom. We said, oh, how primordial, how animalistic, how sensual. Oh, don't you know that the senses just trap you and keep you oppressed? That is the oppression of feminine energy and wisdom and understanding. So lo and behold, today, this morning, Venus moved into Taurus, her natal home of Taurus, the earth god. And Mars is in his natal home of Aries. We've got the south node of the moon in Aries, north node of the moon in Libra. Venus is the ruler of Libra. Venus is in charge right now. And Venus says, you know what I want? I don't even want to dominate over the masculine just because that's what they did to me. I'm going to demonstrate to the masculine energy what unconditional love, what I am all about, by making things just and balanced and equal and fair, which is the same as beauty, as harmony, and love. Therefore, we can birth a new way forward that is in this beauty, in love, that this world was intended to be. And then you don't have to fear. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to get your life and your desires approved by some authority figure or else get punished or judged. That period is over. And now through us, as individuals embodying this essence of Venus, of unconditional love. This week we have Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces. We can really get into these very deep spiritual goals and orient ourselves during this total solar eclipse to birth an identity, a direction that is so much more connected to spirituality, so much more connected to love, and we feel re-empowered and reaffirmed within ourselves. That way we can go out and pave a new direction without fearing that either the authority is going to oppress us, punish us, judge us, and then everybody is going to leave us. That time period is over, and now is the time to prove to ourselves that we have the power and the capability to live as individuals in service to unconditional love. To reunite this entire human world as one family and to distribute alternative healing, new ways, blending together all of this new creation. Creation is magic, creation is medicine. So let's get on with it. Let's help heal one another. Let's help uplift one another during this highly frictionous birthing time. And let's remember that we don't need any authority besides our own heart, our own spiritual connection, to let us know that it's the right thing to do. Okay, so I can take a look at your transits. We can look at this Uranus-Pluto final square, look at this total solar eclipse, see where we are going, what we are birthing. I also still highly recommend energy healing. You can get energy healing from my partner Mackenzie. She offers all her services through my website as well to assist with this birthing of new energy. And the energy healer is like a midwife who is assisting this birthing of the new you. All right, so let's celebrate. Let's be re-empowered and let's set sail, because we are setting sail for many years to come and we feel the winds of change. It's exciting. So let's fill up these sails and let's get going. All the best to you and yours. Namaste.